I'm gonna say something silly, something rather dumb. I don't think that the ending of Demon Slayer is bad, but then why the title of this video implies otherwise? Did I just use very sensationalized clickbait because of the money? The Benjamin Franklins that I love that I use for my gambling addiction? No. I do have a The thing about the ending of Demon Slayer is that it is alright, but at the same time, it's not really that good. But how? How can something be alright and bad at the same time? And to that question, I say, watch the video. Watch the video if you wanna know what. The beginning of the ending starts at the end of the Hashira training arc, where Muzan finds out where the leader of the Demon Slayer is and goes to kill him, but it was a trap and the house explodes. And then Tamayo appears and injects a form of poison for demons and stuff. By the way, she dies, so I'm no longer going to mention her. Every Hashira, and of course Tanjiro, is alerted where Muzan is and everybody goes there, but Muzan makes everyone go to the Infinity Castle. Tanjiro and the Water Hashira are fighting the upper rank 3 demon, which they are able to defeat him. The Insect Hashira, Kanao, and Inosuke fight the upper rank 2 demon, which they are able to defeat him. The Insect Hashira dies, but Inosuke and Kanao survives. Zenitsu fights the upper rank 6 demon and defeats him. And that's the Mist Hashira, the Stone Hashira, the Wind Hashira, and Genya fight the upper demon rank 1, which they are able to defeat, but the Mist Hashira and Genya die. While all of this happens, the Love Hashira and the Serpent Hashira are trying to kill the upper demon rank 4, which is the demon who controls the Infinity Castle, I guess. And also Tanjiro and the Water Hashira are fighting Muzan. Going back to the Love Hashira and the Serpent Hashira, they are unable to kill the demon because she be moving the castle too much, but Yushiro, the apprentice slash follower of Tamayo, is able to grasp control of her, but Muzan fucking kills her and everybody goes to the overworld. I don't fucking know what they get out, okay? They get out. Everyone starts fighting Muzan, but Tanjiro is unable to fight because of the poison that Muzan injected him earlier. So he takes a nap. Every Hashira and others starts fighting Muzan, but eventually all the Hashiras get defeated. And at the last moment, when Kanao was about to get killed, Tanjiro wakes up and starts fighting Muzan, and the others also wake up and join the fight. Muzan gets weaker, too weak to even escape, and Tanjiro pins down Muzan, which then transforms into a big baby? What the fuck? Which inside is Tanjiro, and then Muzan dies, and also Tanjiro dies. But before dying, Muzan gives all of the blood that he has to Tanjiro to make him a demon, so his legacy continues. So Tanjiro now is a demon who is able to be under the sun. He gets cured and no one dies while he is a demon. And that's pretty much the whole ending. If you notice something, is that the ending by itself is not really bad. Sure, I explained it in a way that it was really simplified, but there's not like a big fumble in a way that makes the whole entire ending make no sense or be just bad. But to even understand why this ending is still bad, we need to analyze the writing in this manga. There's 2 ways to write a villain. There's definitely more ways, but in this case it won't really matter. A villain that is in some ways likable, and a villain that is made to hate. Muzan falls into the category of villains made to hate, but the problem with Muzan is that he's a villain that is not really hateable nor likable. We don't really understand why we should hate him, nor we understand Muzan as a character. to explain that, I ask why Muzan is a villain. Now, we know his goal, that being to conquer the sun, aka being able to walk under the sun without dying, but is that a good reason to be a villain? I don't know, I don't think so. But to show you why I don't think this reason for being a villain is good, we need to ask another question. The question of what makes a good villain good, or should I say a bad a bad villain bad. And to that, let's see what I think is one of the best villains in manga and anime, Griffith from Berserk. Why is he so hateable? First of all, we need to sort of understand Griffith, so I'm going to somewhat spoil Berserk, but not a lot. Don't worry, please don't click on the video. Griffith has big aspirations, enormous even. He wants a kingdom despite not having royal blood. He strongly believes that he can do it. He believes so much that he can do it that the people around him follow him because of how much his assertions are of this dream of his. Everyone believes that Griffith will get a kingdom, and this is especially true with Guts, one of the closest companions that Griffith had. At the beginning of the arc of Golden Age, he's not really a villain, but more of a likable character, just someone with big aspirations. But then, how does he become a villain? Well, it all started with a misunderstanding that makes Guts want to leave the Band of the Hawks, but Griffith doesn't allow him unless he can defeat him in a fight, which Guts wins, and this deeply affects Griffith, because Griffith at this moment, he's just a human. To him, losing Guts in a fight and losing Guts as a person reminds him that he's not an unstoppable object. It reminds him that he's just a mere human that can lose things even if he doesn't want that. Because of that, he doesn't act right and sleeps with the daughter of the king that he was serving, and the king doesn't like that for many reasons that I'm not gonna. Anyways, he gets captured and put in a jail. Also, he gets tortured like a lot, but at some point Guts comes back and the whole gang rescues Griffith, but it's too late for him. Griffith is in such a state that he can't walk anymore. He can't really speak. He's just so handicapped that the dream of him having a kingdom now is completely gone. Now imagine being at the top, being able to conquer all of the things that you want, having the dream that you wanted so close, but now all of that just being a thought, a daydream. And not only that, also being a burden because people have to take care of you. With all of that context, we can now understand why he chose the path that he chose, but not because we understand and in some ways pity him. He's good now. No, he's still wrong in several ways. For one, the people that he sacrificed are the same people that rescue him. Casca being willing to take care of him. Also, he's kinda just responsible for the things that happen to him. He's purely being egocentric, which is part of his character. But even worse, he doesn't even feel remorse or bad or really anything after becoming a god. Griffith has become more than just a villain, but a villain that drags emotion out of you, and that emotion being hate. Now, going back to Muzan and the question of why he's a villain, Muzan at the beginning was a human that was very sick and probably close to dying. At the moment, Muzan just wants one thing, and that is to live more. That is his main goal, and so he kinda does get cured, and to that I say, wouldn't that be enough? Why does Muzan now want to have more? Why does he start killing people? And to answer that question, we need to look at the question of why Muzan is a villain. And the answer is because he's bad, evil, and diabolical even. And if you ask now why Muzan is bad, well, the answer is because he needs to be. If Muzan is not bad, then there's no villain, and if there's no villain, there's no demon slayers, and if there's no demon slayers, there's no story. This lack of understanding makes the character of Muzan look like a Looney Tunes looking ass villain, a villain that is just bad for the sake of it. Muzan is so cartoonishly villain that he even kills his own goons to show how unpredictable he is, how much of a bad guy he is. The problem with this is that it makes it hard to hate him, but at least I'm sure that this character is the only one that I'm gonna talk about. I'm going straight to the point, and that is that the problem with the whole Tanjiro gang is that they have no development at all. And if there is, it's not really good, and I wouldn't even call it character development in a way. Now, at first, I was just gonna talk about all of the characters in general without specifying one, but I'm sure that there's gonna be someone who says that I didn't thought about this character and that character, and so I decided to talk about all of the main cast one by one, something that I definitely want to do. Now, what do I mean when I say there's no character development? In the case of Tanjiro, from the beginning of the manga when he's 13 to the end when he's 16, he remains the same. That being of someone who is very kind, sympathetic and empathetic. Being his worst quality, that he cares too much. Kind of like when you go into an interview and they ask you what is your worst quality, and you say, oh, I'm a hard worker, I work too much, I work insanely fucking hard. Tanjiro has no flaws. He's quite the perfect character. Someone who faces his fears, someone who is selfless, a hero that can do no wrong, and because of that, he doesn't really need to change. But even so, even if Tanjiro wanted to change, in the world of Demon Slayer, he once again doesn't really need to. In the first volume of the manga, there's a page where the instructor says that he's no use because he's too kind. He, in other words, says that Tanjiro would have a difficult time killing demons because in the very nature of killing is not kind. But of course, that doesn't happen. The only demon in which he hesitated was the first demon he encountered. But then you could say that that is character development. The fact that Tanjiro later on is able to kill demons is development. But to that I say I don't think so. And the reason is that killing demons is not a moral dilemma, because every demon that he encounters is bad and kills innocent people, and also killing them is in some way saving them. So the most moral thing to do always is kill demons, which is a shame because when I read this page for the first time, I thought that Tanjiro was going to go into some sort of arc about him overcoming the fact that he has to kill demons, but once again, that doesn't happen, or more like it doesn't really need to happen. Nezuko really never changes, and that's fine. Nezuko is supposed to be in a stage of never changing, kinda like Casca from Berserk. With that being said, I don't think there's nothing wrong with this character. Except that there's a tiny little thing that Nezuko has, that being that she's too convenient. And I think Nezuko embodies how this show works sometimes. Like, why is she not able to talk like every single fucking demon, or why she doesn't want to eat humans. Also, she can cure poison when everybody needs it, and why she can walk under the sun doesn't really affect her. This makes the character of Nezuko less interesting, because the answer to all of those questions is that she needs to. So the story makes sense, kind of like Muzan. And the thing about it is that the whole Kamado gang, the whole Kamado family, is not really supposed to be like a special breed of humans. In the story, Tanjiro and Nezuko and everybody else that was born into the Kamado family, they're just normal humans, people that don't have anything special in it. But again, it kind of feels contradictory because Nezuko is so fucking special. With that being said, I don't think that the character of Nezuko worsens the ending that much, but also I think it makes it less interesting when you realize that a lot of the things that happen in the manga and in the show, sometimes they don't really have a reason to be. Inosuke and Tanjiro are different sides of the same coin in the sense that both of them don't really change throughout the story. Also, both of them have a potential flaw that never really goes anywhere. With Tanjiro, it is that his overwhelming kindness that could make him hesitate in a moment where hesitating could be disastrous. Of course, like I said before, that part of Tanjiro is never explored. With Inosuke is that he is self-centered, egotistical, and not good with others, which makes sense if we start thinking about how he had to grow up. With this information, you would think that Inosuke's character arc would be of him realizing that no matter how strong you are, if you don't work alongside others, there could be repercussions. But of course that doesn't happen because although he's self-centered and selfish, he's good at teamwork. Like if he always was good at it, just choosing not to be when he wants to. This makes the core of Inosuke nothing more than just comic relief. So his only biggest flaw of being bad at teamwork, because he's so self-centered, is not there anymore. So now Inosuke doesn't need to change at all. His personality is nothing more than just a couple of jokes. But at least this is definitely the only character in which his personality is just comic relief. Another thing that Tanjiro and Inosuke have in common is that both have some sort of revenge story that never really has any sense of build-up. With at least Tanjiro, we get to know who killed his family. In the other hand, Inosuke never even knows he had a mother. He only gets to know the truth of what happened to his mom when literally the upper demon, when the upper demon Inosuke is facing, it starts to jab out of nowhere about his mom. This is supposed to be a big moment for Inosuke's character, but it doesn't feel like it. We're supposed to feel hyped that he's facing the person who killed his mom, but because there was never any sense of build-up, it kinda comes more of a fun fact than an actual revelation that we are supposed to be amazed. So when Inosuke gets to fight him at the beginning, we don't even know that this fight, one of the final fights of this story, is the beginning and the end of Inosuke's revenge arc, which I don't even know if this is an arc. Zenitsu is one of the reasons I divided every character into sections, because in some ways Zenitsu is one of the few characters that actually get a very direct and visual character development. But yeah, I don't think Zenitsu really changes either, or at least not in a way that doesn't feel forced. But first, how is Zenitsu's personality? Well, his main thing is that he's a coward and really fucking annoying. Unlike Tanjiro and Inosuke, Zenitsu can't even fight because of how coward he is, or at least he can't fight until he passes out, and he stays like that for most of the story until the end of the Hashira training arc. But wait, if Zenitsu changes, then why am I saying he doesn't change? Well, more than changing, I argue that he doesn't get really developed in a tangible way. And for you to understand what I mean, I'm going to show you all of Zenitsu's character development process. And that's it. 2.5 pages is all of Zenitsu's character development. Before that, he's literally the same character we came to know from the beginning. The way he changes is so sudden that I don't think we can call it development. The word development means the process of something. But what process did Zenitsu had? He went from coward to brave in a matter of panels. And the thing is, it is kinda obvious why Zenitsu changes. When it comes to Tanjiro and Inosuke, they don't feel like they are unresolved because what do they need to change? Not much. But when it comes to Zenitsu, he has an obvious flaw that would be kinda silly if he went like that to the final battle, to the end of the story. And so he changes. To me, the character of Zenitsu is a prime example of lazy writing. Something that definitely only this character has. Kanao stars as someone who can do things on their own, not because she can physically do, but because the way she had to survive when she was little, having to obey, because if not, she would be severely punished. But even so, even when she obeyed, she had to endure seeing other kids being severely abused and starving. She had to cope with something, and so she stopped thinking and obeyed every order so her pain could at least last less. Anyways, Tanjiro resolves all of that in a couple of panels. Kanao, as so with Zenitsu, never really have to go into a process of change. They just change. I think if you have a trauma and I go and say, hey man, follow your dreams and stop doing that, and then does the coin flip, would you then get cured or something? I don't think so. And this is not me trying to say that this scene where Tanjiro does the coin flip is not good. Personally, I think this scene in some ways is really good as a start for Kanao's character development, where she starts to change, not as the turnaround 180 where the character overcomes their problems. So, the only flaw that Kanao had gets resolved as quick as it was introduced. With this being said, I don't think that Kanao is a major part of why I think the ending we got is bad. It is a very minor part of it, but I don't think it matters that much. The only reason I'm talking about this character is just to prove my point that most, if not all, of the characters in Demon Slayer lack character development, and this is also including the Hashiras. When it comes to all of the Hashiras, I don't think it matters whether they have a character arc or development, because they already had their character arc, how they came to be. But the problem is not their backstory, but that the Hashiras, even though they are a major part of the story, they are treated as very secondary characters. I'll even say, in the manga, they are more of background characters than anything. And so, when they die, cause they do, the weight of their deaths are not really that sad or memorable. And I think the main problem is that the Hashiras are never shown that often, and when they do, they die. How am I supposed to feel attached to a character that I just barely saw? We never get to truly know who they are. We just get to know them with their most basic personality traits. This makes the characters quite forgettable, even though they are important to the story. But then again, they are treated as very side characters because they barely appear. I think the prime example of what I'm saying happens at the very end of the story, where the Hashira of the Serpent and Love are on the brink of death, and they confess their love to each other. Now, prior to this, it's never really mentioned that they like each other. Like, there is very minor hints that they might like each other, but if you read it for the first time, without hindsight, it's nearly impossible to know. It comes out of nowhere, and so, when they die, cause they do, it doesn't really feel like a tragedy, but more like an unfortunate event in which I am supposed to feel sad for them. And because of that, this scene of them dying feels shallow. But at least this is the only thing that is shallow. Okay, I need to. When I say an arc is shallow, I don't mean they are necessarily bad, but what I mean is the significance of said arc. What does it bring to the table? And unfortunately, most, if not all of the arcs in Demon Slayer are shallow. Not bad, just shallow. And to put that into perspective, Demon Slayer has 12 arcs. Now, you could say that 12 arcs are too little. Maybe what I'm criticizing is that there's not enough arcs. But no, I'm not saying that. And to show you what I mean, let me ask you something. How many arcs does Attack on Titan have? 18 arcs? Maybe that's too much. 16 arcs? Nope, it has 14 arcs. And if that sounds like that's too low, well, I was lying. It has 9 arcs. But how come does Demon Slayer have more arcs than Attack on Titan, yet it feels as it should have less arcs? And that is because most of the arcs in Demon Slayer are what I think are just watered down fights. When it comes to Attack on Titan, each arc is fundamental to understand the overall story. You cannot just skip one arc and hope that maybe you could understand the story. But when it comes to Demon Slayer, each arc is not really about getting closer to anything, not to Muzan or the mysteries of the sun breathing, which maybe you could argue that last one. Still, I don't think so. You could just skip arcs and still understand the story if I just tell you who won and who died. For example, one of the most recognizable arcs out there, the Entertainment District arc, is an arc where nothing really much happens besides Tanjiro getting the mark. The arc could be summarized just by me saying that the Tanjiro gang won and the Wind Hashira retires, and also he lost a limb, to be exact, his fucking arm. That's it, nothing more than that happens. Most of the arc is them fighting, sometimes there's a flashback, and that's it. And the thing is, that is just about every other arc. Now, you could argue that Attack on Titan has more volumes than Demon Slayer, and you'll be right. Attack on Titan has 35 volumes, while Demon Slayer has 24 volumes, a difference of 11 volumes. But again, the problem is not that there's not enough, the problem is that the enough that there is not dense. It's watered down to make room for all of the other fights. Death Note has 12 volumes, and yet it is one of the most complete mangas I ever read. Because as long as there's something, a goal, a mystery, a villain to reach, then the arcs are going to feel important and not important, I guess. But it seems like I've been talking about everything except the ending itself. So let's go back to the question, how can something be alright and bad at the same time? The thing is, the ending is fine. The reason that I think Demon Slayer has a bad ending is because the main villain of the story never had a build-up as so the main characters. There was never a tension between Muzan and Tanjiro as much as there was a tension between Inosuke and the demon that killed his mom. Every character feels as if they were really important, and yet is never shown why they should be important. And most of it feels like that because most of the arcs are never explained nor expand ideas or characters. The ending that I got is an ending that pretends that all of the things that I just mentioned are in a better state when in reality I don't think it is. The reason why so many people say that the ending is bad, including myself, is not because the ending is literally bad, but because all that leads to the ending is not good. Not in the way that it's terrible, but more in the way that the content itself, the information there it is not enough. And because all of that, Demon Slayer has a bad ending. But if it has a bad ending because everything that leads to the ending is bad, then how come so many people come to like and appreciate this manga slash anime, which both have a score of 8 in my anime list? And to answer that question, I want to talk about an anime called Arms Girl Machiavellism, and don't worry if you never heard or watched this anime before. So while I was writing this script, I ended up watching that anime. And I recently stopped watching anime, mostly because I got tired of watching anime, mainly because most of them feel basic to me. But the thing is, that anime that I just mentioned is basic, generic, nonsensical, and just dumb, and yet I enjoyed it. Not in the way that I thought it was a masterpiece, because trust me, it's not, but because it was fun. But does that mean I cannot like it? Do I have to hate it or not enjoy it? Well, no, right? I like it despite of all the things that don't make sense, that being the whole anime. Not because I have bad taste, which I have, but because liking it doesn't mean something is good. Not that it matters, because as long as a piece of media is entertaining to you, you might like it, and who cares if some other people say it's mid. And to me, Arm Girls Machiavellism was certainly entertaining, and so Demon Slayer. And I know this video sounds like I'm criticizing and being negative, but no, that is not the point of this video. I'm not trying to persuade you to not like Demon Slayer. This video is just me trying to explain why I think the ending of Demon Slayer is bad and why I don't like it. Or more like why I didn't feel satisfied with it. But I also have to admit something. When I first finished the manga of Demon Slayer, I felt disappointed, betrayed even. I poured so much attention and money. I had bought the 23 volumes officially, separately, brand new. And I think back then, when I finished this series, I kinda began hating it for the sake of hating it. Not because I thought it was bad, but because I didn't feel satisfied with the ending. The truth is, I did enjoy Demon Slayer. I remember when I first bought the first 3 volumes of Demon Slayer and read it, and time went fast. I was so excited for the story, even though I watched the anime, which covers more than the first 3 volumes. But because I didn't like how things ended, does that mean that my enjoyment didn't exist? Now, going back to the question, why did people overall like Demon Slayer? Well, because it was entertaining. The ending of Demon Slayer is bad, and that's okay. Hey, Yaris Post Production here, and thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate the fact that you watched the whole video. I really appreciate it, so subscribe for more videos like this, and I don't know what else to say. Follow me on Twitter and Twitch, and subscribe also. Anyways, I'm gonna start doing some fentanyl right now. Wait, don't fucking